Book 7, Toby the Tram Engine. Dear friends, poor Thomas has been in trouble, so the Fat Controller asked Toby to come and help run the branch line. Thomas and Toby are very good friends. Toby is a funny little engine with a queer shape. He works hard and we are fond of him. We hope you'll like him too. The Author. Toby and the Stout Gentleman. Toby is a tram engine. He is short and sturdy, he has cowcatchers and side plates and doesn't look like a steam engine at all. He takes trucks from farms and factories to the main line, and the big engines take them to London and elsewhere. His tramline runs along roads, through fields and villages. Toby rings his bell cheerfully to everyone he meets. He has a coach called Henrietta who has seen better days. She complains because she has few passengers. Toby's attached to Henrietta and always takes her with him.
Well, you never know. She might be useful one day.
It's not fair at all.
As the buses roar past full of passengers, she remembers that she used to be full, and 9 trucks would rattle behind her. Now there are only 3 or 4, for the farms and factories send their goods mostly by lorry. Toby is always careful on the road. The cars, buses, and lorries often have accidents. Toby hasn't had an accident for years, but the buses are crowded and Henrietta is empty.
I just can't understand it, Henrietta.
People come to see Toby, but they come by bus and stare at him.
Isn't he quaint?
They make him so cross. One day a car stopped close by, and a little boy jumped out.
Come on, Bridget!
The 2 children ran across to Toby. 2 ladies and a stout gentleman followed. The gentleman looked important, but nice. The children ran back.
Come on, Grandfather, do look at this engine.
That's a tram engine, Stephen.
Is it electric?
Oh, shh!
Shh! You offended him!
But trams are electric, aren't they?
They are mostly, but this is a steam tram.
Oh, may we go in, Grandfather? Please?
Stop, guard!
While the guard was picking up his whistle, the family scrambled into Henrietta.
Hip hip hooray!
Electric indeed! Electric indeed!
The stout gentleman and his family got out at the junction, but waited for Toby to take them back to their car.
What is your name? Toby, sir. Thank you, Toby, for a very nice ride. Oh, thank you, sir. This gentleman, he is a gentleman who knows how to speak to engines.
The children came every day for a fortnight. Sometimes they rode with a guard, sometimes in empty trucks, and on the last day of all, the driver invited them into his cab. All were sorry when they had to go away.
Thank you, Toby!
And you too, driver, fireman, and guard.
The stout gentleman gave them all a present.
Come again soon.
We will!
The months passed. Toby had few trucks and fewer passengers.
It's our last day, Toby. The manager says we must close tomorrow.
On that day, Henrietta had more passengers than she could manage. They rode in trucks and crowded in the brake van, but the guard didn't have enough tickets to go around. The passengers joked and sang, but Toby and his crew wished they wouldn't.
Goodbye, Toby. We are sorry our line is closing down.
So am I.
The last passenger left the station, and Toby puffed slowly to his shed.
Nobody wants me.
Next morning, the shed was flung open, and he woke with a start to see his fireman dancing a jig outside. His driver, excited, waved a piece of paper.
Wake up, Toby! Listen to this! It's a letter from the Stout Gentleman!
Toby listened and... But I mustn't tell you any more, or I should spoil the next story. Thomas in Trouble. There is a line to a quarry at the end of Thomas's branch line. It goes for some distance along the road. Thomas was always very careful here in case anyone was coming. Whenever he whistled, people got out of the way and he puffed slowly along with his trucks rumbling behind him. Early one morning there was no one on the road, but a large policeman was sitting on the grass close to the line. He was shaking a stone from his boot. Thomas liked Policeman. He had been a great friend of the constable who used to live in the village, but he had just retired. Thomas expected that the new constable would be friendly too.
Good morning!
The policeman jumped and dropped his boot. He scrambled up and hopped around on one leg until he was facing Thomas. Thomas was sorry to see, but he did not look friendly at all. He was red in the face and very cross. The policeman wobbled about, trying to keep his balance.
Disgraceful! I didn't sleep a wink last night. It was so quiet, and now engines come whistling suddenly behind me. My first day in the country, too.
He picked up his boot and hopped over to Thomas.
I'm sorry, sir. I only said good morning to you.
The policeman grunted, and leaning against Thomas's buffer, he put his boot on. He drew himself up and pointed at Thomas.
Where's your cowcatcher?
But I don't catch cows, sir.
Don't be funny with me. No side plates either. Engines going on public road must have their wheels covered and a cowcatcher in front. You haven't, so you are dangerous to the public.
Rubbish. We've been along here hundreds of times and never had an accident.
That makes it worse.
The policeman wrote regular lawbreaker in his book. Thomas puffed sadly away. The fat controller was having breakfast. He was eating toast and marmalade. He had the newspaper open in front of him, and his wife had just given him some more coffee. The butler knocked and came in.
Excuse me, sir. You're wanted on the telephone.
Oh, bother that telephone. I'm sorry, dear. Thomas is in trouble with the police, and I must go at once.
He gulped down his coffee and hurried from the room. At the junction, Thomas's driver told the fat controller what had happened.
Dangerous to the public indeed. We'll see about that.
The policeman was on the platform at the other end. The fat controller spoke to him at once, and the crowd collected to listen. Other policemen came to see what was happening, and the fat controller argued with them too, but it was no use.
Listen here, you big palooka. The law's the law, see? So we can't change it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, driver, but it's no use arguing with policemen. We will have to make those cowcatcher things for Thomas, I suppose.
But everyone will laugh, sir. They'll say that I look like a tram.
A tram? Well done, Thomas! Why didn't I think of it before? We want a tram engine. When I was on my holiday, I met a nice little engine called Toby. He takes trucks from the farms, but the lorries have taken over most of his work and he needs a change. He has cowcatchers and side plates. I will write to his controller at once.
A few days later, Toby arrived.
That's a good engine. I'll see you brought Henrietta. You don't mind, do you, sir? The station master wanted to use her as a hen house, and that would never do. No, indeed. We couldn't allow that.
Toby made the trucks behave better than Thomas did.
Oi, you!
At first, Thomas was jealous, but he was so pleased when Toby rang his bell and made the policeman jump that they've been firm friends ever since. Dirty Objects. Toby and Henrietta take the workmen to the quarry every morning. At the junction, they often meet James. Toby and Henrietta were shabby when they first came and needed new paint. James was very rude.
Ugh! What dirty objects!
At last, Toby lost patience.
James, why are you red?
I am a splendid engine, ready for anything. You'll never see my paint dirty.
Oh, I see. That's why you once needed bootlaces. To be ready, I suppose.
James went redder than ever and snorted off. At the end of the line, James left his coaches and got ready for his next train. It was a slow goods, stopping at every station to pick up and set down trucks. James hated slow goods trains.
Dirty trucks from dirty sidings. Blech!
Starting with only a few, he picked up more and more trucks at each station until he had a long train. At first the trucks behaved well, but James bumped them so crossly that they were determined to pay him out. Presently, rumbling over the viaduct, they approached the top of Gordon's Hill. Heavy goods trains halt here to pin down their brakes. James had an accident with trucks before and should have remembered this. "Wait, James, wait!" But James wouldn't wait. He was too busy thinking what he would say to Toby when they next met. Too late, he saw where he was and tried to stop. Banging their bumpers, the trucks pushed James down a hill. The guard tightened his brakes until they screamed, "On!
I've got to stop! I've got to stop!
Setting his brakes, James managed to check the truck's mad rush, but they were still going much too fast to stop in time. Through the station they thundered and lurched into the yard. James shut his eyes. There was a bursting crash, and something sticky splashed all over James. He had run into 2 tar wagons and was black from smokebox to cab. James was more dirty than hurt, but the tar wagons and some of the trucks were all to pieces. The breakdown train was in the yard, and they soon tidied up the mess. Toby and Percy were sent to help, and came as quickly as they could.
Look here, Percy. Whatever is that dirty object?
That's James! Didn't you know?
It's James's shape. But James is a splendid red engine, and you never see his paint dirty.
James shut his eyes and pretended he hadn't heard. They cleared away the unheard trucks and helped James home. The fat controller met them.
Well done, Percy and Toby. Fancy letting your trucks run away. I am surprised. You're not fit to be seen, James. You must be cleaned at once.
Yes, sir.
Toby shall have a coat of paint. Chocolate and blue, I think. Please, sir, can Henrietta have one too? Certainly, Toby. She shall have brown like Annie and Clarabel. Oh, thank you, sir. She will be pleased.
Toby ran home happily to tell her the news. Mrs. Kyndley's Christmas. It was nearly Christmas. Annie and Clara were packed full of people and parcels. Thomas was having very hard work.
Come on, come on.
We're feeling so full.
The hill's ahead. Can I do it? Can I do it?
Suddenly he saw a handkerchief waving from the cottage window. He felt better at once.
Yes, I can! Yes, I can!
Thomas puffed his hardest and soon was through the tunnel and resting in the station.
That was Mrs. Kyndley who waved to you, Thomas. She has to stay in bed all day.
Poor lady. I am sorry for her.
Engines have heavy loads at Christmas time, but Thomas and Toby didn't mind the hard work when they saw Mrs. Kyndley waving. But then it began to rain. It rained for days and days. Thomas didn't like it, nor did his driver.
Off we go, Thomas. Pull hard and get home quickly. Mrs. Kyndley won't wave today.
But whether she waved or not, they always whistled when they passed the lonely little cottage. Its white walls stood out against the dark background of the hills.
Hello, look at that!
Oh, something's wrong there.
Hanging, flapping, and bedraggled from a window of the cottage was something that looked like a large red flag.
Mrs. Kyndley needs help, I expect.
The guard came squelching through the rain up to Thomas's cab, and the driver pointed to the flag.
See if a doctor's on the train and ask him to go to the cottage. Bill, you walk back to the station and tell him we've stopped.
The fireman went to see if the line was clear in front. 2 passengers left the train and climbed to the cottage. Then the fireman returned.
We'll back down to the station so that Thomas could get a good start.
We shan't get up the hill. Come and see what's happened.
They walked along the line round the bend.
Jiminy Christmas! Go back to the train. I'm going to the cottage.
He found the doctor with Mrs. Kyndley.
Silly of me to faint. You saw the red dressing gown. You're all safe?
Yes, and I've come to thank you. There was a landslide in the cutting, Doctor, and Mrs. Kyndley saw it through a window and stopped us. She saved our lives! God bless you, Mum.
They cleared the line by Christmas Day, and the sun shone as a special train puffed up from the junction. First came Toby, then Thomas with Annie and Clarabel, and last of all, but very pleased at being allowed to come, was Henrietta. The Fat Controller was there, and lots of other people who wanted to say thank you to Mrs. Kyndley.
Happy Christmas!
The people got out and climbed to the cottage. Thomas and Toby wished they could go too. Mr. Kyndley met them at the door. The Fat Controller, Thomas's driver, fireman, and guard went upstairs, while others stood in the sunshine below the window. The driver gave her a new dressing gown to replace the one spoiled by the rain. The guard brought her some grapes, and the fireman gave her some woolly slippers, and promised to bring some coal as a present from Thomas next time they passed. Mrs. Kyndley was very pleased of her presents.
You are very good to me, gentlemen.
The passengers and I hope you will accept these tickets for the South Coast, Mrs. Kyndley, and get really well in the sunshine. We cannot thank you enough for preventing that accident. I hope we have not tired you. Goodbye, and a happy Christmas.
Then, going quietly downstairs, they joined the group outside the window and sang some carols before returning to the train. Mrs. Carlie is now at Bournemouth, getting better every day, and Thomas and Toby are looking forward to the time when they can welcome her home. This concludes the reading of Thomas and Friends, The Railway Stories Volume 1, written by the Reverend Wilbert Awdry. Copyright 1945 to 1952 by Egmont Books. The original Thomas and Friends songs are copyright by Hit Entertainment and Mattel, 1993 to 2003. Thomas and Friends themes have been covered by Tyler Hildebrand and Silver Dragon TV. Narration provided by Zack Wanzer, with the additional voice talents of, in order of appearance, Diesel 20212, Mike Nicholson, TobyandMavisforever, Carlie Fletcher, Elizabeth Teofilo, James Riddle, Omid Mirhakak, Christopher Bochard, Jerome Spitza, Matthew Hanna, and Matt Stone, as well as guest appearances by Ben Forster, the late George Carlin, Michael Angelis, and Ringo Starr. Sound effects were provided by Soda Island Forums, Sound Dogs, and YouTube. This recording was published in 2015 and 2016. It is a non-profit fan work and was produced by Zack Wanzer and Matthew Hanna for Railfan Brony Audio. Thank you for listening.